Hi everyone, my name's Kayla, one of your professors at English Without Borders, where we believe in making English education great, awesome, and free for all of you. This is our third video in my mini series for tricky American consonants. Today, the consonant we will be working on is the American R. Now, I know this or R sound tends to be very difficult for a lot of non-native speakers. So if this sound is difficult for you to produce, do not worry, you are not alone. In fact, there are many American children that actually go through speech therapy classes to better perfect this sound because it can be difficult for native speakers to produce as well. So be confident going into this video. You can do it too. Okay, let's get started. So the American R may be difficult for some speakers because the R sound you have in your native language may be different. For example, in Spanish, we have the trilled R, where the tip of our tongue touches the roof of our mouth, and it sounds like r, r, and it's trilled. And we have contact with the tip of our tongue and the front of our palate. In other languages, we have a more guttural or throaty R, which sounds like r, r, r. And there we see the back of our tongue touches the top of the soft palate in the back of the roof of our mouth, okay? So this is different. This American sound actually does not have any contact between the tongue and the palate. So the thing we want to focus on is the formation or the way that we move our lips and where the sides of our tongue are. This may not be something you normally think about when you're speaking. Where are the sides of my tongue? But that's important when making this American sound. So for this R sound, this is especially important at the beginning of a word. For example, with the words rat or race. So my tongue does not touch my palate. It is in the middle of my mouth, and the sides of my tongue curl up and push out. Okay, so I make that sound, and I feel that my tongue curls up on the sides and pushes out against my teeth. If you have a difficult time picturing this, imagine that you are sipping or drinking from a straw. Okay, so that motion when you sip or suck on a straw and you go to drink a drink when you go to a restaurant or on a hot summer day, you drink a cold lemonade from a straw and you go. So that feeling of your tongue making way for the straw, it curls up around it and it does not touch the front or the top of your palate. However, it has a lot of tension. Our tongue has tension in it. So that's the sort of motion and feeling that we want in our tongue for this sound. So if you have trouble imagining this, pick up a straw and try doing that feeling or that motion and see if you can make that feeling and find it in a different way. If when you are practicing the American R, you are able to hold out the sound for longer and say red, rat, race, that is a good sign and you are probably doing it well. If it is difficult to hold this out, you may be doing something like the trilled R and saying rat, race, run. We don't want to do that, okay? We want run, rat, race. So exaggerate this when you are practicing, okay? If it's hard for you to do, you can think of, if you watched my past video on producing the American L sound, I described the light American L that comes at the beginning of words, where the tip of our tongue touches our palate of our mouth right behind the teeth. And we say light, learn, laugh. So that tension in the tongue is what we want with the R as well. So we can practice by making that L sound and then pulling the tongue back to not touch the roof of our mouth to transition into the R sound. So for example, la rat, la race, la right. And I transition between this to the sound, as I pull the tongue back, I retract it, but I keep that tension there. Okay, so that is another method that you can try. Another thing we want to be aware of is that we need to round the lips, almost like the W sound, when producing the R. So we want to round our lips like wah, wah, but have our tongue back in that center of our mouth, the sides of our tongue pushing out and the tongue not touching the roof of our mouth. So if I say something like run, my lips look similar to as when I say a word like one run, one run. So we see it's similar, but I create greater tension with the R in the sides as well as rounding the lips because I'm pushing my tongue out on the sides. So one way you can practice ensuring that you are rounding your lips is that you can put your finger here when you are saying the word and make sure that you can feel the tension and the rounding here when you are speaking. So run, race, rat. And I can feel that my lips are touching and putting pressure on my finger because they are rounded. So I want you to practice this sound as much as possible. If it is difficult, work on using this L to R transition. I especially recommend this for Korean speakers who may have difficulty distinguishing when they speak between the L and the R in American English. This can help you differentiate. And as you're doing it, as you're transitioning, remember to think of your tongue as a muscle. Your tongue is a muscle. You need to train it to be able to make this sound. So start moving it in different ways. Move it around your mouth until you can feel that the tension and the placement of your tongue is just right to create that sound in English, okay? When you get especially good at the American R and distinguishing it from the American L, for example, you can practice minimal pairs or words with the same sound except for one, and practice distinguishing between them. And if you can do this correctly, you are mastering that part of the English language and English phonetics, okay? So for example, we could use minimal pairs like light and right, long and wrong, or lace and race. And if they are difficult for you, you can practice the transition from one word into the other. So, race, right, wrong, okay? And keep playing with your tongue in your mouth, training that muscle. And the best thing to do here is practice, practice, practice. This is muscle memory, so we need to get our tongue used to, accustomed to this new feeling in our mouth, especially if this sound is not very common in our native languages. Now, this is just an introduction to the American R sound. I will have lots of new content coming for you about different ways of talking about the American R because it really is such an important one for you to understand. I hope you enjoyed this video. If there are any words with an American R that you find especially difficult to pronounce, please put them in the comments below and I will be here to answer your questions and make more videos to bring you clarity in your English pronunciation and accent. Have a great day, everyone, and I'll see you in the next one.